Welcome to the Trust Factor Radio, bringing you interviews and insights to unlock the power of the subconscious mind to create authority, credibility, and trust. With your host, the Authority Architect and best-selling author, Neil Howe.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today my guest is Greg Kristan. He helps small to medium-sized businesses drive more quality traffic and leads through their business using SEO. He primarily works with clients in and around Massachusetts and is currently located in Cambridge. Welcome to the show, Greg Kristan.
Thanks, Neil, for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit more about yourself, Greg, and how you got going with search engine optimization.
Yeah, definitely. So currently right now I'm living out in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I live with my girlfriend and our 1-year-old Shiba Inu dog. So it's been a lot of fun living out here. And then really just professionally though, I got into SEO actually when I was in college. I had 2 roommates who were photography majors who were trying to get more clients for their wedding photography business that they had. So I helped build the website for them, and then I did a lot of Google AdWords, and I was discovering organic search very naturally during the process, and I just fell in love with the ability to drive the right people to the website, to get people to sign up, to hire them for their wedding. And I really just took that from college, and then I really made it into a full-time career.
Excellent. I know my background is SEO as well, and I really loved being able to figure these kinds of things out. And it's it is competition. You're trying to get the calls and get business, so it can be very addictive for an SEO like yourself. It's very easy to catch hold of. So what kind of clients is it that you end up helping now? I know the wedding industry is a great industry. Have you stuck with that, or do you have any preference for the people that you work with?
Yeah, so for me, it really has to deal with somebody who has a strong passion for what they do, because that actually gets me even more excited about helping out what they're trying to achieve as well. So the photography business, I gave that example before because I saw the direct impact that it had. It went from someone had a really strong passion for photography. I didn't really know too much about photography, but I saw their passion and I saw how much that, gave them a lot of joy into what they did. And then it ultimately gave me insight into their field. The SEO part, a lot of things that I do are kind of similar in a way that I look at technical things and I look at on-page and off-page elements throughout the same process. But I really enjoy working with different fields because I get a new appreciation for what someone else is trying to achieve. So as long as you're really passionate about what you're trying to accomplish, that's ultimately my favorite type of client to actually work with.
Great. That is important, that they are excited about their business. One of the things about that as well, they're so excited about their business and doing what they love, is they need somebody to take over the marketing and make sure that there's people coming in all the time. So what kind of problems do you see these people having, and why do they come to you for help?
Yeah, so typically what happens is somebody will reach out maybe with more of a generic type of question. They might say something along the lines of, my website is having a hard time being found on Google, or I have a competitor or a few competitors who are outranking us for a few types of keywords within Google. And from the top level, that makes a lot of sense. You want to be seen at the top within Google. That's really where the lion's share of click activity happens. But what I notice a lot where people who reach out to me, there's a lot of technical restrictions that are on their website. And it's easy to look at the ultimate goal, like a top keyword ranking, but you can't really get there if you have an anchor strapped to your ankles as you're trying to swim up to the top. And that's ultimately kind of what happens if you have a lot of technical errors within your website. So if somebody reaches out to me and they're looking for help to try to improve a particular keyword, I like to provide a free SEO audit for them, because ultimately that can give them the insight into maybe there's these technical restrictions on your site. And if you wanted to have someone like myself or someone else to help, grow their organic traffic, you ultimately need to address these issues first to then get the results that you desire at a later time.
Okay, so would you say the technical part is really the foundational part, making sure that the website runs properly?
Absolutely. There's a lot of things that can certainly restrict a website's growth. So I've seen examples where somebody reached out and they just said their site couldn't be found within Google. And it was just a simple robots text issue where they just disallowed their entire site. So Google could not even see it. It sounds like a very simple fix, which they are, but there are sometimes more complicated solutions that we need to address as well. So before I do any type of keyword research or divide, draw up a plan to maybe rank a particular term or page, I always want to make sure that from a technical standpoint, Google and Bing can access everything as easy as they possibly can, so then they can understand what we're going to be doing next.
Right. And, let's go into the technical a little bit more here. What kind of problems do you see, or the most common problems that you see from a technical standpoint that really holds sites back?
Yeah, so it's always going to vary between a lot of websites, but some things that I notice are not a proper site architecture. So sometimes they might have a particular page that they want to rank, but there's no clear path for Googlebot to actually get there. Same thing also even for a user. If I asked you to remove a section of the URL to go back one page, and if you can't, those type of restrictions right there cause breakups within Googlebot, and they cause confusion even as a user. That's usually one of the main things that I see, where it's a lot of pages being built, but they're not being built in a way that can actually naturally be found by search bots. So if you ever hear the term of orphaned off pages, that's usually something that I come across. And if a client is interested, I can also analyze their log files to actually show them that that is the case. Because if you have a page on your site that is orphaned off or hard for a search bot or a user to even get to, a log file analysis can actually show that Googlebot hasn't even checked out this page in the last 30 days or even longer, just because of how hard it is to get there. So once you kind of illustrate the fact that this page that you want to rank for all of these terms, Google's not even looking at it, that's really the first reason why they're not actually showing this within their results. So you have to advise and build out a new strategy to make sure it has a clear path. So when Googlebot comes back to their website the next day, they have that clear lane for them to follow to ultimately get and to crawl and understand now what this page is all about.
And those kinds of things can make a difference, obviously, right away. You correct the error, and then all of a sudden, Google is coming around again. Do you find that a lot of companies are doing what they think they're supposed to be doing? They're creating content, they're trying to do backlinks, but there's these technical problems that render all that work useless?
Yeah, unfortunately, I see a lot of cases where people will invest a lot of time and probably a lot of money into content creation and maybe even design. And it's frustrating as a small business owner, or even or really any type of owner, that you invest all this time and energy and money into creating great content, whether it's video or audio or blog content, and you publish it and it's not found by Google, and it's very demoralizing because you almost feel like SEO doesn't work. And I think it's that technical part that unless you have somebody who's really looking into your website and making sure that Google and Bing are understanding exactly what they're seeing, you might not get the results that you're actually looking for, and thus it creates that sense of this just isn't working. So I do see that pretty often, where it's kind of you're missing that one part of the pie almost. So everything else you did, and the last part, which is like the technical part, they just can't see it. and ultimately you don't get the rankings or the traffic that you desire.
And Google really seems like they are wanting everything done right now, whereas in the past you could, do a few things to get around some of these technical issues. It seems like Google is really making sure that everything is done correct. Do you see that?
Yes, I think SEO. So when I started was around 2011, and it just, now that we're in 2018, it's definitely a lot more difficult in terms of trying to, like, as you kind of mentioned, you can potentially get around some of these issues, but now everyone's kind of the web has evolved so rapidly in the last just few years now that Google, and when they're crawling through a site, like they're really trying to make sure that they can understand a website through different ways of how like their machine learning algorithm is working, and therefore they need to make sure that from a technical standpoint that they can understand everything exactly, or if they can't, there's probably a competitor who is giving them that option. So you almost have to just make sure that you're as error free as possible, because ultimately a competitor who is making sure they're going through those steps, they could potentially just outrank you, even if you are doing the same type of keyword research, similar content, maybe even have video on your site as well. You really got to make sure you get that technical part nailed down.
Very important. Now, I'm sure you've had customers coming across from other SEO companies that have not been able to find the right fix or produce the results that you can with good technical SEO. Do you see that as a major problem?
Yeah, I think it's not, when people reach out and they're looking for help and maybe they've had a previous SEO or a company work on their strategy, it's hard because in the industry, there are a lot of people who promise fast results, be found on Google in the next 2 weeks, maybe even less. And there's that expectancy when you're a client that, well, someone else is promising very quick results and they're going to maybe build a lot of backlinks because they're, in their mind, they know someone said once that backlinks are very important for SEO. But when people talk to me and I start talking about things like a technical review and making sure that, Googlebot has a clear path to all their main pages, and then we can start doing the proper research after that, it's something that, unless you've heard about that in the past, it sounds almost like an excuse that we need to do this technical part first to then ultimately get to the actual part of what you're trying to accomplish as well. So one way I tried to ease that tension is that I try to share as much as I possibly can on any case studies that I've done or even the work that I'm doing on TM Blast. And I really like to demonstrate that months of no growth actually then led into 6 straight months of continuous growth and leads because all this technical work was done previously. It doesn't look as great when you look at Google Analytics for those first couple months because you're wondering everything's stagnant and I'm not sure what I'm getting from this. But once you get that technical part correct, and then the keyword research goes into play, and then the proper strategy kind of goes forward, then that's when you start to see the uptick in terms of traffic and revenue and leads, really for your for your business.
Mm. And how do you get over the problem with all these outside companies that are emailing from India or other countries of the world saying that they can give the results in 2 weeks, and then you're saying, well, it's probably going to be 3 to 6 months before you see the results?
Yeah, it's that is something that is probably my biggest hurdle right now, and some ways I try to combat that is to be as vulnerable as I can with my website. So I try to share strategies. I try to share things that maybe didn't even work. And I try to share even just my thought process too. So I've recorded audits that I've done. I've recorded even some strategy for my own website. And I kind of showed that, here's a term that's on page 3. And here's some things that I'm going to look into. And then I'm going to record another video at a later date showing basically did this work or not. I think it's really important to expose as much as you can, because it's easy to just say everything works, you should just hire me. But I think it's important that who you're hiring is somebody who has gone through a lot of different strategies and has documented a lot of things that have and have not worked. So ultimately, when you're getting someone to work on your account, you're also getting them because like they have the expertise and they have the confidence that what they're pushing forward has been tested and proven in the past. And you're really going to get the best type of quality work that ultimately you deserve. And the reason why I try to stay local around Massachusetts is that I think sometimes it's harder to show that that authentic type of personality just through words on a page. So if you are local to the Boston area, I always suggest, if you ever wanted to meet up and kind of go over your site together face to face, or even ask any other questions as well. I like to do that as well, because ultimately I want them to feel that this person who is potentially going to work on their account has that same type of passion for what they're trying to accomplish. And that's ultimately why those are the type of clients I really want to work with. It's the people that want to have the results they're looking for, because ultimately this is their life, and like this is what they want to ultimately be able to have help with. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do as well. Meet with clients face to face,
Right.
and then be as vulnerable as I can by showing results from my own website too.
Yeah, it's definitely, like you say, this is their lifeblood. This is their business, and this is how they make their money, and they're investing in you to help them get more clients. So there's definitely got to be that level of trust that you can get in that face-to-face meeting, as well as, showing proof like you do with your case studies and, what you've been able to do for others. And another great thing about the local area is the referrals as well. I'm sure you get lots of referrals by sticking in one area.
Yeah, there. I have a few people, and generally what happens is one person, as you kind of mentioned before, referral, they'll just mention, I'm working with this person. He seems like a very straight shooter, and he's here, and he actually meets with me to go over my results, or even just strategies. So because if you go on the web, or even when you mentioned the email spam, I even get that too. I get people emailing me guaranteeing that they can rank a keyword on my site in 1 week. And it's kind of bizarre, because I'm getting an email from somebody who's selling me SEO, and that's what I do. So it's I really try my best to cut through the clutter and try to be as authentic as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely a need for people to find that person that they can trust within this industry, because, like you said, they're getting hit every day. If you're a local business owner, you're going to get hit every day from different marketing companies trying to get your business. Now, one thing that interests me, which a lot of people don't really talk about, we talk about Google all the time, but you say you get quite a bit of your traffic from Bing as well.
Yeah. It's funny. I really believe I'm the only SEO person out there that actually talks about Bing and so frequently about it. I actually was lucky enough to be I worked at Microsoft as an account coordinator for Bing ads just for a short amount of time, and luckily I was able to talk to some developers there, and it was awesome what they were trying to do with Bing. Now, this was a few years ago, but I mean, what Bing is today, it's really incredible how much they've grown since 2009. And I see Bing as a huge opportunity for any client out there, because everyone has that notion that it's very small and therefore it's not worth my time to invest. And I see that as one of the biggest opportunities to actually drive additional traffic to your website, because if everyone else has that mindset and everyone else believes that it's not really worth their time, then you make it your time and you go through and you use tools like Bing Webmaster Tools or Bing Ads Intelligence to get ideas of what people are searching for and how Bing sees your website. Because if you make just a small, a few tweaks on your website, you'll start to get a lot of traffic really from Bing, and it's your competitors who are not taking advantage of that. So One of the things that I work on too with clients is, we talk about Google all the time, but it is also making sure they have Bing Webmaster Tools, that we're checking the error report within Bing Webmaster Tools, and then we're also using the Bing Intelligence tool. It's an Excel edition that you download, and you're going to get all the search data combined for Bing and Yahoo for any type of term that you're looking to maybe build into your organic strategy. And that's Bing and Yahoo specific data, because people search a little different on Google and Bing. So it's really a great way to drive additional traffic to your website. So that is one of the channels that I really, or one of the engines that I also promote as well as part of the SEO service that I provide.
Mm-hmm. I know we've talked about a few of the misconceptions with SEO already. Is there anything else that kind of stands out as a preconceived notion people have when they're thinking about search engine optimization?
Yeah, I think there's obviously a lot of misconceptions about SEO. I think just because of the field that we're in, we mentioned the email spam that we get for people who are saying, I can do this for $100 a month, I can do this for $10,000 a month. It's hard as a business owner to understand, what is credible and what is just, snake oil, basically somebody who's just saying, I can do this for this amount and I can make these results very fast. So the one thing that I try to really let clients know, anyone who's interested in organic search, is that think of it more like months of work that you do for the organic channel can pay off for years of just continuous organic traffic and revenue for your business. So if somebody comes to you and says, I can get you to rank for this keyword in 2 weeks or 1 month for $99, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably the case. So I would say try to find somebody or a company that is really invested in making sure that they develop a great strategy for your business and is really dedicated to helping show these long-term growth that actually you're looking for. Because I think ultimately, if you have the idea that you want to have this really quick and fast, then you should probably be doing paid search advertising. But if you're looking for something that's going to drive continuous traffic and quality leads for your site for a long period of time, then it's going to be the organic channel, which is not as fast as paid search, but ultimately can be just as profitable, if not more, down the road.
All right. Well, getting back to the technical aspect of things again, if there's one or two things that a business owner could do to their website to maybe help fix it and get better results, what one or two things might that be?
Yeah, so I always recommend two tools. They're both pretty affordable. One's called Screaming Frog, and the other one is Screaming Frog Log File Analyzer. And what's great about both is that Screaming Frog itself, it shows all the technical errors that you have on your website. So you can see things like broken links. You can see things like meta tags that say no index, when in reality you actually want Google to index that page. And then when you use Screaming Frog Log File Analyzer from your web hosting provider, you can actually request the log files, and you can see exactly how often Google and Bing come to your site, and then also what pages they get to. And what's awesome is that if you combine the two tools together, you can import a log file into Screaming Frog, and then you can find all the orphan pages that are on your website. So pages that Google and Bing may find within a log, but ultimately cannot actually get to because of how they're orphaned off on your site. You can actually find a lot of opportunities just from there. So the two tools that I really recommend is Screaming Frog and then Screaming Frog Log File Analyzer if you're looking for quick wins in terms of technical SEO and compliance within Google and Bing, finding all of your information on your website.
Excellent. That's screamingfrog.com?
I think it's screamingfrog.co.uk.
.co.uk. Okay, great. Great piece of advice there. Thank you for that. Now let's talk about some of the clients that you have had that you've helped Is there anyone that sticks out in your mind? You know, what kind of problems were they having when they came to you? What were you able to do for them? And ultimately, what was the outcome for their business?
Yeah, so I've had a few different clients, all in different spaces. So I've had an e-commerce client. I've had a client, or I have a client who is part of the Americans with Disabilities Act for workers. I have a client who is a roofer, and I have another potential client who I'm working with who is in real estate. So it kind of really, differs all around. But the client that is with the Americans with Disabilities Act, that's actually someone that I was really excited about when they contacted me, because I have a friend who builds websites who very much makes sure that they're ADA compliant. So when he reached out to me, this was actually a field that I was already getting a lot of insight into with working with my friend on different websites. And he really wanted to get the message out there that he can help businesses with ADA compliance. And he was a great guy. He just had problems that his website could not really be found by Google and Bing. So really everything I talked about in this interview, it was making sure that Google and Bing could find all his content that he was trying to provide to businesses. And once we fixed a lot of the technical errors like 404s and some orphaned off pages, he actually was able to increase his organic ranks in the next few months, really shortly after we began these technical fixes. And now he's actually getting a lot of like quality traffic now to his website. He's getting more phone calls. So I'm really happy about that. I think that's I like hearing those type of success stories just whenever I talk with him. But that's probably the one that I'm most proud of, just because it's a really good cause. And but that's kind of why I like working with different fields, because if you're very passionate about trying to provide great value to people, I'm on board. And I definitely want to be able to help out with that as well. So yeah, that's probably my favorite one so far.
That's great. Yeah, it's all about getting more calls, more business. That's what people are hiring you for. Now, quickly, I don't know if you know too much about the ADA compliance, but do you know if that's going to be a big issue for businesses moving forward if they're not compliant?
I think it will. I think now, some businesses I know are, if you're going to go through like a re-platform, there are those standards now that you have to hit. So I do think that if you are a business owner, you have to think about all the different ways people are going to try to access your website. So things like screen readers, or even things like if you're colorblind, or if you if you're deaf and you need to have closed captions for your videos. There's a lot of things that I think business owners need to start taking into consideration, and just understanding that whoever comes to my website needs to be able to consume the information that they can actually then understand and then take action with. So even if you are thinking about this now and you're thinking about your own website, just think of all the different ways that people can consume information, and try to make sure that you're giving as many different values as you can. And in fact, my one friend who builds a lot of websites, he was actually going through my website probably about 2 months ago, and gave me a lot of suggestions for me to actually consider. And there are even things like the way I write text on my webpage. I might say, here's an example below of SEO growth. And he tells me that when people use a visual reader and they're listening to the audio of this, really make sure that your alt tag is as descriptive as you possibly get, because that person now who just heard that sentence of, here's this picture below that shows growth, you really need to explain in the alt tag now what exactly this picture is about. If you just say, 6 months of SEO growth as the alt tag, that's not really that descriptive, because they don't really know what that looks like. So he was kind of telling me that from a consumer standpoint, try to make sure it's as descriptive as you possibly can, which also can help with SEO as well, because now Google has more information to kind of work with.
Yeah, it definitely seems like everything is going based on customer experience and the ease of use of the site. It seems like Google is rewarding those who are thinking about that. And, I don't know if the ADA is going to cause the same kind of uproar with the GDPR that in May caused a few companies to, lose some revenue. But we will see if that's an issue in the future. Well, Greg, it's been very interesting talking with you today. I know the technical aspect of SEO is something that is overlooked by many, but understandably it is the foundation of the website, so it's extremely important. If somebody wants to reach out to you and have you give them a consultation or get an audit of their site, what is the best way for them to do that?
Sure. So you can go to my website directly. It's just tmblast.com. That's tmblast.com. You can find me right there. I also make it really easy. My email address is greg@tmblast.com. So you can always just feel free to send me an email, just even with your website, a few questions. My turnaround's pretty fast in terms of, even if it's just a quick response. Like if you have an issue with your site and I notice your robots text issue has a problem, I can just quickly send that right over to you. And that's probably the best way if you go to my website or if you just email me directly.
Great. And oftentimes it can be a quick fix can make a major difference. It's just knowing exactly what it is that you're looking for. Well, Greg Kristan, he's the owner of TM Blast at tmblast.com. Thank you very much for being my guest on Trust Factor Radio today.
Thanks a lot, Neil.
And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Trust Factor Radio with Neil Howe. To learn about the resources mentioned in the show and to listen to past episodes, go to thetrustfactorradio.com. To get a copy of the book, The Trust Factor, go to thetrustfactorbook.com. If you are ready to act now and build your authority, credibility, and trust, schedule a consultation with Neil at theauthorityarchitect.com.